In honor of November, the Retro Video Store presents Turkey Month, only the worst in cinema.
Welcome, everyone, to the Retro Video Store podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
And that's my co-host, Neil.
I'm Neil. And who is our one-armed wonder boy out getting trained to help save the wilderness from a fiery fate?
I'm here.
Yeah. David, I thought you were in a hospital room because you're like in a hotel or something, and it looks very white. So I thought you were like back in the hospital or something. But I was going to say that is some dedication to record from a hospital room, but you're in a hotel.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I've actually never ever spent the night in the hospital.
Really?
Yeah, except maybe I think the night I was born or whatever, but I've never spent the night in the hospital.
Interesting. How are you healing up?
Good. Yeah, I still can't really move it, but
all right.
I've got this.
Your shoulder, that is, right? If people who aren't didn't listen last time, and you said I can't really move it, it could be anything. So you had shoulder surgery.
Yeah.
I can't move it. I can't feel it.
Surgery.
The implant is finally working.
Yeah.
Penile implant. Yeah. So this is the month that we dread, but we have an obligation because we are purists. We don't want to wimp out. We really want to go ahead and watch some of the shittiest movies this month. So this is the start of Turkey Month. And we are starting with what has been written as one of the worst movies of all time. I don't really think it's really the worst movie of all time, but it is a bad movie, and it's Alone in the Dark from 2005, a video game, movie based on a video game directed by Uwe Boll, one of the worst directors there is. But yeah, this is the first movie of Turkey Month, and next week, just to let you know, we're going to do Mac and Me, which is considered an awful movie, which I have not seen. I've only seen highlights of. I've never seen the entire movie, so we'll be watching Mac and Me. And then Godzilla 1998 will be our third movie because it's the 70th anniversary of Godzilla, so let's talk about the worst Godzilla movie of all time. And then we're going to top it off with the biggest turkey of all, Showgirls, on last movie of the month. So, yeah.
Yeah.
We're running the gauntlet.
Yeah, we got a big month ahead of us here. Yeah. Something to really test our patience.
Before we jump into that, we'll do what we always do. Neil, what did you watch this week?
I watched Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Well, good. Classic.
Yeah.
Still holds up. Good movie.
World War Z with Brad Pitt. Which I
could have been better.
It could have been better. The book. And the reason I watched it was I got a hold of the book, and Mel Brooks. I guess Mel Brooks' son wrote it.
Yeah, Max Brooks. Yeah,
Max Brooks. And I powered through that, and that was great. And I wanted to watch the movie again, and that wasn't too bad. And then I watched, and I was in a zombie kind of mood at Halloween. And then I watched 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later.
Oh, nice.
So that was kind of how I rounded it out, and then watched a butt ton of cooking shows. A lot of cooking shows, and I was getting. I was getting so much joy from watching the cooking shows, and it was baking, and I hate baking. But then when my wife left and she went to bed, I started watching Barbecue Pit Master 5000 Extreme Challenge. And just sitting there watching these guys cooking all this pork and beef ribs and looking at it and I could F with some of that right now. I could totally do that. And I have a smoker now, and I've still yet to use it. So I have no place to talk. I have thoroughly entered middle age, man.
I was getting ready to say you have. There are things you do when you get middle age. You either have a smoker, you start playing pickleball, or you play golf. Those are the options out before you. So you got a smoker.
That's what I did. I went and got the smoker just because I don't like hanging out with a lot of other people. in social situations like that. I like playing music because that's a very orderly thing. And yes, but pickleball, that seems like that would be hell. And golf.
I play golf because it's solitary. I mean, if you go and you're out on the driving range, or if you go and you play, you're not really having to interact with anybody because somebody can hit their ball way the hell off, and you're just hitting your ball there, and you just maybe meet in the middle at the tee box, and then you go your separate ways. Get to the tee box, go your separate ways. So it's not as social as you would think.
I've played golf twice. Dave's head is moving around like he is a small animal on the Serengeti checking for lions. You okay, dude?
Yeah, I think the somebody in the room above me and here in the hotel is going a little crazy.
Nice.
Are they doing it, or are they just get murdered?
Yeah, either having sex or getting murdered. One of the two.
Okay. Well, they're in a hotel. That's usually what happens.
Either way, yeah, they're in a hotel. It's a great
crazy
plot
stuff
for a
goes
movie.
down in hotels.
Yeah. Dude, what is traveling like with that contraption on your arm? Trying to protect it because your shoulder's fucked.
Yeah. Somebody has to drive me everywhere, and then it's just like trying to maneuver around certain, like the classroom or whatever. Just kind of sucks because you like have to find like the right place to sit and like squeeze into a chair, and then like taking this class, I started trying to write with my left hand today. I'm like, this is stupid. So I did the best that I could with my right.
What level of hotel are you at? Are you in like a Marriott, Hilton type situation, or are you at like a La Quinta Best Western situation?
Holiday Inn Express situation.
Okay,
so I'm really curious because we're looking at the background, and do they all come with those with that many cameras and ring lights? Is that something standard? Like, what's going on?
Did you turn on the black light when you went? Yeah. So it's a Holiday Inn Express, so it could be either a murder or sex or one after the other.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of racket.
David, what did you watch this week?
So I actually watched some stuff. And,
all right.
Let's change it up. I watched Woman of the Hour, the Anna Kendrick directorial debut about the dating show game with Rodney Alcala.
Oh, the serial killer game show guy. Yeah. How was that?
Yeah, it was good. I thought, there were some cool shots and scenes, and I thought the actor who played Rodney Alcala did a really good job. So, yeah, it was cool. And then I watched, and I wanted to talk to you about this one, Eric, and I just didn't get a chance to call you, Long Legs. I finally watched Long Legs.
It's a fucking piece of shit. What?
Yeah.
It was a piece of shit.
Neil, go ahead and just mute yourself for a minute. And then Eric and I are going to talk about Long Legs. But
I haven't seen it yet, so
you haven't seen it?
I probably will be in the I like it category, but I don't know. But
yeah, I didn't love it.
What did you find redeeming? What'd you find redeeming about that steaming pile?
Well, I just thought it was beautifully made, man. The cinematography was good, and the music, it was so different. It was just different from what I think had been come out in the past. Different pile of shit, but I enjoyed that pile of shit.
So it was a well filmed pile of shit.
And then I watched The Witch from 2015 with Anya
good
Taylor.
one.
Yeah, so I watched those this week, and then of course this piece of shit.
So you watch some like elevated horror movies with the Witch and Long Legs. Can you hear my cat meowing in the background?
Yes. Could you hear me finishing that delicious beverage?
Yeah. So,
but
everybody, you're gonna get some free ASMR this week.
I would, I'd recommend all of them. Eric, what'd you watch?
I watched a lot of horror movies because it was still the end of Halloween week, so I watched a lot of AMC. They showed Halloween over and over again, and I wind up catching most of Halloween Resurrection again. I'm like, oh my god, this movie sucks. And then on Halloween, the day of Halloween, I had the day off, so I watched Hellraiser, the original one. It was on IFC, so it was unrated, so it was pretty awesome. Enjoying me some Hellraiser. Hellraiser was really, really good. I watched part of Halloween 2, but it was edited. And then when trick-or-treating started, I put on the original Halloween and watched that and really, really enjoyed the shit out of it. And then I watched Halloween Kills just because I wanted to see the most fun of the new trilogy. I love Halloween Kills. That movie is so dumb. People act so stupid. They deserve to get killed, and they get killed in the most wonderful wonderful ways in that movie. That to me is like there's 31 deaths in Halloween Kills. So it is not a boring movie. There's a lot of Michael Myers getting rid of people left and right. Michael Myers looks cool with the burnt. His mask is burnt, and he wastes all those firefighters at the beginning of the movie. And then the citizens of Haddonfield are stupid. They're like the citizens of Springfield, just really reactionary, wanting to set on fire, whatever, and run after people. There's the mob mentality. And it was fun. I really enjoyed Halloween Kills. I know a lot of people don't like the new trilogy, but I'm a defender of it, and I'll always say, have you not seen Halloween 4, 5, 6, the Rob Zombie Halloweens? Have you not? I mean, like Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends are way better than any of those pieces of shit from the mid 80s. Way better. So I will defend the David Gordon Green Halloween movies because I find them entertaining.
Speaking of Halloween, did you get trick-or-treaters?
We had about 3 dozen.
Really?
Yeah.
I got 0. Dave, are you home for Halloween? Did you get any trick-or-treaters?
I had about 7, but I didn't answer the door.
You just threw cold water on him. Get out of here.
That's the one-armed man who goes out and shakes his fist at the clouds. Yeah, I got none here in the Bay Area. Like 0.
Well, you can see our house all through the neighborhood because I have one of the 12-foot skeletons, and I put about 6 of other skeletons out in the yard, and I have lights all around the house and a big, lit up spider web and stuff. So, but my jumping spider stopped working this year, so I have to buy a new one. The one that it has a sensor and it pops out at you. I couldn't get it to work, so I had to throw it away. So I have to get a new one. It served me well for 8 Halloweens, but it died.
What I really want, and might want to edit this out. If you go by Home Depot where you are, and you can find those upgrade kits for the eyes,
yes,
the skeleton. If you can find one of those, get me one too, and I'll pay you back.
Okay. Because
I have a couple of. We're working on some really. I do fantasy creatures with my advanced kids, so they can pick a fantasy creature, and I'm working on this big giant ass dragon. But I would like to put those LED eyes in it because you can do like that, and they'll look around and blink and shit. If they have anywhere you're at, I wasn't even able to order them out here.
No, I went and looked as well because I wanted to get one because my skeleton's eyes don't work right now. So I was going to go, man, get the upgrade kit. Went to Home Depot and they were sold out, and you can't get them online either. So next year we'll have to get them quick. So yeah, I have a feeling we're kind of putting off talking about this movie. So
I would really I can't get it out here. I thought maybe you could get it out there.
Yeah,
that's why. Not putting off talking about this wonderful bit of cinema.
So this movie is, I hate to say it, but I actually kind of got into it for 5 minutes. I was like, oh, what's going to happen to everybody? It actually sucked me in for a little bit. I was totally surprised because I was expecting a steaming pile of shit. And this was just more like.
That's what it was.
No, it was more like dog turds left out in the sun and turned white. It was more like that. It wasn't like steaming. It was just there,
Not long legs bad, but still pretty bad.
All right. So Alone in the Dark from 2005. Neely, do you want to hit us with the very, very simple Internet Movie Database tagline?
Yes. A detective of the paranormal slowly unravels mysterious events with deadly results in a way that's much more exciting than the movie Longlegs.
So Uwe Boll, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right.
Uwe Boll, really quick thing. In his native tongue, you know what Uwe means? Smoka.
Smoka?
Yeah.
Smoke a bowl.
Smoke a bowl. Hold on.
Thank you so much.
I guess it's
Cheech and
Uwe.
Chong. Little Cheech and Chong humor.
Looking at the pronunciation, I think it's Uwe Boll. is a German filmmaker who came to prominence in the early 2000s for his adaptations of video game franchises. Released theatrically, the films were critical and commercial failures. His 2005 Alone in the Dark adaptation is considered one of the worst films ever made. So, looking at his filmography, it is pretty hilarious. He started out with some German movies, one called German Fried Movie, which you can't even link to see what it's called.
What? One called Scheisse Arama.
There is one that was called Blackwoods, and it's got Patrick Muldoon, the guy who was the rival guy in Starship Troopers. You know, the one that got his brain sucked out by the by the vagina bug monster. Then he did a movie called Heart of America, which is about school shootings, a 2002 Canadian-German drama film written and directed by Uwe Boll about events leading up to and revolving a shooting on the final day of school, which is interesting. I've never even heard of it. I don't know. I wonder if it's available for streaming or anything, because it's probably pretty bad. But then he started with his video game movies with House of the Dead, which I almost thought about doing before Alone in the Dark, because it is supposedly really, really awful as well. But I figured Alone in the Dark would be a little bit more entertaining because it's got Christian Slater and Tara Reid and Stephen Dorff.
I think my name for the recording session actually gives my thoughts on Christian Slater.
Timu Jack Nicholson?
Yes.
That is funny because I put in Timu James Cromwell, if you know who I'm talking about.
Yes, exactly.
The doctor. Yeah.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
Then he did Blood Rain, which I have not seen. Have you seen anybody seen Blood Rain? I just remember that girl was good looking.
Right. Why do you have to ask when I have a mouthful of cookie that my wife just brought in? Yes, I've seen it.
Yes. And then he did a movie called In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege Tale, which had Jason Statham, Claire Florani, and Lily Sobieski. Ooh. John Rhys Davis. And
I've seen that too. I will admit that I have seen that as well.
We're going to talk about a lot about video games in this episode, but I used to love Dungeon Siege. I used to love Diablo and Diablo 2 a lot as back in the day, and Dungeon Siege was kind of the same sort of like dungeon crawl, loot grab type game that I still enjoy, and Dungeon Siege was a fun game. Then he did Blood Rain 2, a movie called Postal, which is based on a video game, and he did Tunnel Rats, Alone in the Dark 2, Far Cry, and he did a movie called Blubberella. So he's got a very interesting filmography. This movie came out in 2005, and it smacks of early to middle 2000 type movies. The new metal music that they play.
Yeah, that was probably the best part of the movie, actually, was hearing some of those songs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I went back, this is my dedication to the podcast, I went back and watched like a 30-minute video about the Alone in the Dark video games, the history of the games, and I don't know if you remember the original Alone in the Dark. It was made for PC, MS-DOS, if this takes you way back, and it was very, very, very primitive, and it was just like these pixels, you would walk through this house, and the backgrounds and the foregrounds are rendered, so it looked a little bit, nice, but the actual pixelated, it was kind of like an early survival horror game where you would just go into these different rooms, find clues, and run out of the room, and there was no combat or anything like what you see in the movie. And this movie is based on like the Alone in the Dark video game called Alone in the Dark: The New Nightmare that came out in 2001, which was released on PS2. PlayStation 2.
So that's been a bit back.
Yeah.
Just a touch.
Yes. I don't know about you. I'm not a huge fan of survival horror games. I remember, like, really young, The Seventh Guest, which is like a puzzle game. You would go into the different rooms and you would solve these puzzles, and it would just take you in further in different rooms. And then there was Alone in the Dark came out before Resident Evil, but I think Resident Evil was the big game that like kicked off survival horror.
The only horror game I really enjoyed and that I played a lot of was Splatterhouse.
Oh, I used to love Splatterhouse. That was like you looked like Jason, but it wasn't. It was like a magic mask you put on, and you kind of like got all big, and you were just like, you know, it was more of an action horror game. But yeah, I remember that one. That was a good one. Splatterhouse.
I'm not gonna brag, but I didn't see anybody at your house walk in and give you a cup of coffee and 2 fresh chocolate chip cookies. I'm just gonna brag a little bit.
It was very nice.
Yes.
David, did you play any survival horror games?
I played the original, whatever you just said it was, the
Resident Evil?
Yeah, I played that one. That's the only one I've ever played. I remember liking it, though.
Well, Resident Evil was the one that really changed up the game because it mixed the kind of like walking around the house, finding clues, but with combat. And I remember there was this one scene that scared the shit out of me, is that you're walking by this stained glass window and this zombie dog just jumped through the window at you, totally unannounced. And that was like a landmark part of the game of survival horror. And then Silent Hill was really, really good. And that one was like not much combat, but you were walking around the city and your controller.
Yeah, that circle of light and then that fucking radio noise.
Yeah, the radio noise, the static would happen if the zombies or the bad guys got closer. And then your controller would have like a heartbeat and you would get scared and stuff. That was freaking scary. I remember playing that one quite a bit. But after that, I really haven't played too many survival horror games. My son enjoys the Resident Evil, the newer ones, like Resident Evil 4. And there's the other one called where you have to kill hillbillies. I think it's Resident Evil 7 or something. I can't remember which one it is but it's basically Texas Chainsaw Massacre like game where you're in this village and you're fighting all these crazed rednecks.
If you want to go old school for PC, you got to look up a game called Redneck Rampage.
Oh, I remember that one. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a first-person shooter type game. Duke Nukem, Redneck Rampage, Doom, Quake. All those games were awesome back in the day. But Alone in the Dark came out 2005, and it was released on January 29, 2005. Budget $20 million. The box office was only $12.7 million, so it was a financial failure. And the funny thing about it is that Uwe Boll was using German tax credits to make money back on movies that weren't successful. So he was like actually making money by making flops. And then they wound up closing that loop, that law because of him, because he was, like that movie, The Producers, where let's make a really shitty play, but we'll still make money off of it. And it turns out to be a hit. But yeah, he was gaming the system. Oh, Tara Reid, thank you.
Yeah, hell yeah, Neil. You just saved this podcast episode.
You're welcome.
So, cast is Christian Slater, or as Neil calls him, Timu Jack Nicholson. He plays Edward Carnby, and Edward Carnby is the protagonist in all the games, the first 3 or 4 games, and he's a paranormal investigator. And a lot of the stuff you see, like the orphanage and other things, are in the games, but they're set in the 20s, and it's got like a H.P. Lovecraft vibe where Uwe Boll jettisoned all that kind of stuff, put it in modern times, and did more of the action sequences. Tara Reid is a archaeologist, if you can believe that, named Aline Cedric, and she's a expert on the Abkhani, which is a tribe I've never heard of before. The thing that made me laugh is like they've been around for 10,000 years and they're a Native American tribe. I'm like, 10,000 years? America wasn't even around then. But they're Native Americans.
Look,
I
get you the whole like, oh, I'm half Native American, blah, 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 blah. Just because your tribe couldn't do that shit, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna have you dissing the Abkhani. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
The Abkhani, who apparently put artifacts all around the world. They were world-traveling Native Americans. And they put artifacts, in different parts of the world because they were well known about moving to different areas.
Sounds like I'm hearing jealousy. Sounds like I'm hearing a little bit of anger and angst. I'm sorry that your people couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm. So Neil included a picture of Tara Reid from what looks like a Playboy photo shoot. I've always had a sort of thing for Tara Reid, even though she was on a lot of reality shows and had some major plastic surgery issues. But back in the day, I appreciated her dedication to very low jeans and other pants.
Which she's still kind of sporting in this movie.
Yeah, exactly. I even wrote that in the notes that I'm like, she's a low rise pants enthusiast.
low rise archaeology.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, has that chick from the Abkhani expert shown up? Why? Hand me my credit card. She's over in the pit digging it up right now. If you see what I'm talking about.
Do a swipe. Yeah. Stephen Dorff plays Commander Richard Burke, the commander of the Bureau 713, which is this paranormal branch of the of the government.
He is hardcore, and he is not going to let you forget it.
It's so funny.
That's a man who can come into every situation and assess it and get shit taken care of.
And be a total dick to his old boss.
We need more people here. Get them here now. Didn't they just fucking kill like all these guys? Should we just maybe go somewhere else? We need more people here.
You're not in charge anymore. Yeah. Awful.
If he's not fighting Blade, I really don't want to see him in a movie.
Yeah. I can't really think of any other movies besides Blade that I can say that he was worth a worthy person, and not to be mean. Everybody's got to put some food on the table, and being in Alone in the Dark probably fits that category.
He did the Power of One, which is a movie I liked. It's got like Morgan Freeman and Daniel Craig in it. It was set in apartheid Africa. That was pretty good. It was that, and then in Blade, and then after that, can't think of a thing he's been in.
A lot of indie movies like I Shot When, Andy Warhol, City of Industry, Cecil B. Demented. He was in a lot of awful horror movies, Fear.com, Alone in the Dark, Shadow Boxer. Bucky Larson, Born to be a Star. Ooh.
Wasn't he? I thought he was the voice of Chucky.
No, that
was
Stephen
Dorff. Stephen Dorff.
No, Brad Dourif.
Brad Dourif.
Yeah.
Stephen. If they merged, they would be Stephen Brad Dourif.
Yeah. Brad Dourif is the voice of Chucky.
Put them in the Fly Machine, mix them both together, and see what happens with the career.
That would be a more entertaining movie or interesting movie than this one. Huh. He's in The Righteous Gemstones, which is interesting. Which is a good show on.
I have thought about watching that. How many episodes did you watch before it was not worth your time?
I've only seen like highlights of it, so it seems really funny. And I like Danny McBride, and there's all sorts of like outtakes that you see where they're cracking up and stuff. That
Eastbound and Down. If you want, prime Danny McBride, Eastbound and Down.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, but he's in a lot of unusual movies. Stephen Dorff. Let's go back to Christian Slater a little bit, though. He's phoning it in this movie. Didn't really get the feeling he was giving it his all.
He had a hard time closing his mouth in this film.
I wrote that down in my notes, too.
Had a hard time closing his mouth. His
mouth is open all the time.
You know what really grinds Eric's gears? Apparently the same thing that gets mine.
Exactly. I think we noticed it at the same time. People who drink beer weird.
That Jesus.
In the House of Wax.
Yes. So annoying. Who does that? Nobody.
He was in a lot of stuff. Of course, The Legend of Billie Jean, Name of the Rose, Heathers, Gleaming the Cube, Pump Up the Volume. In Heathers and Gleaming and Pump Up the in Heathers and Pump Up the Volume, he's really leaning into that young Jack Nicholson shtick.
I'm just going to sit here with my blackjack gum and say deep shit into the void. Kind of like what we're doing now, but without the blackjack gum.
Yeah.
True Romance. He was good in True Romance. I'll give him that one. That's probably one of his better movies.
He had a cameo in a Star Trek movie.
He did as the Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country.
Yeah.
He was the Excelsior Communications Officer. I remember seeing that in the theater going, what the fuck is Christian Slater doing this? What's going on?
What was that? There was one line he had in the movie, like, fuck me, it worked. I can't think of it now. It was like one of the few things about his acting that stuck with me.
He's been in a lot of interesting movies, Mr. Slater. A lot of good ones and bad ones. He's a working actor.
Now you're the one willing to do anything to talk about other films rather than to go forward on this one.
Yeah. Yeah, we're waiting, Eric.
Let's talk about the plot of... Well, actually, let's talk about the critical consensus as I pass by Tara Reid's picture one more time.
Yeah. Just give you a second to hold on to that.
I'm just sitting here staring at it while you guys are talking.
Are you good? If you start to see the lips move and it's in either my or Eric's voice, you need to back off the painkillers that you're on for that. Rotten Tomatoes gave the film a rating of 1% based on 123 reviews.
1%.
123 reviews. 1, 2, 3. With an average rating of 2.2 of 10, the critical consensus reads, inept on almost every level. This is starting to sound like my performance evaluations. Alone in the Dark may not work as a thriller, but it's good for some head-slapping, incredulous laughter. Metacritic gave the film a 9 of 100 based on 25 reviews, meaning overwhelming dislike. And audiences surveyed by CinemaScore gave the film an F grade. I'd have given it a D. I don't think an F. I mean, it was unintentionally hilarious. Scott Brown of Entertainment Weekly gave the film an F grade, only slightly better than the film Longlegs, commenting that the film was so bad it's postmodern. In the film's only positive review listed by Rotten Tomatoes, Michelle Alexandria of Eclipse magazine wrote, Alone in the Dark isn't going to set the world on fire, but it largely succeeds with what it has to work with. Just don't take it too seriously and you'll have a fun time, unlike the hour and a half I spent watching Longlegs.
I agree with Michelle Alexandria of Eclipse magazine. I knew that it wasn't going to be good. I kind of put my brain on hold and I kind of enjoyed it. Some of the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes are hilarious. Stupid horror movie based on an Atari game. Beware the film that confuses before it even begins.
Felix Vasquez, the horror. It's so good.
How do you savage something this pathetic, this completely unbothered by the basic concept of passable composition? David Keyes of cinemaphile.org.
This guy brings in two people to slam the movie. The late Gene Siskel once devised a simple method of measuring a film's worth. Is this film more interesting than a documentary of the same actors having lunch? Alone in the Dark doesn't come close to matching that standard.
All right. Rossiter Drake from the San Francisco Examiner. Christian Slater and Stephen Dorff, the reigning princes of Hollywood schlock, join forces in this brain-dead adaptation of a popular video game. That is R.J.R. Jones from the Chicago Reader. And any chance for suspense is thwarted by gratuitous violence, heavy metal-propelled action sequences, and laughably flat dialogue between characters who are barely more developed than the Atari version. In Time Out magazine.
This is pretty close to one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and having to recap it is making my brain bleed.
Yeah. This movie's so bad, Eric.
But I like her. It's from Three Black Chicks Review. And she is not pulling any punches. I love it.
It just has just about everything a snarky bad movie lover could want. That is, except a guy and two robots sitting in the bottom of the right-hand corner.
Thomas DeLapa? I've heard of the suspension of disbelief, but Tara Reid is an archaeologist?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Thomas DeLapa from the Boulder Weekly.
Attains a level of awe-inspiring Velveeta dunderheadedness. Andrew Wright. Velveeta dunderheadedness. That is so badass.
If Ed Wood had the opportunity to fall under MTV's influence, Plan 9 from Outer Space would have looked like Alone in the Dark.
Okay, let's go back to
Jeffrey
Ed Wood.
Westhoff.
Scott Weinberg, somewhere Ed Wood is resting pretty comfortably right now. Oh, man.
When the giant, intelligent bees of the future sift through the ashes of our civilization, they will find Alone in the Dark. And they will understand. It's so bad, it's postmodern. Scott Brown from Entertainment Weekly.
David Elliott, if you are alone in the dark, be sure to bring chewing gum. It will provide entertainment. Woo!
It's only January, but I can't imagine any upcoming film replacing Alone in the Dark as my leading candidate for worst movie of 2005. Betty Jo Tucker of Real Talk.
Slater and Tara Reid share quite possibly the most awkward love scene ever recorded on film by Larry Ratliff. And he even reviewed his own honeymoon tape, so that's got to be pretty bad.
See, I don't remember a love scene between them. I guess did I like space that out?
Maybe I spaced it out too because that's funny, but maybe it's a different cut.
Maybe it is because I don't remember them having a love scene at all. In
Brian Orndorff. I got Ed Wood. I got Ed Wood here. Brian Orndorff. If anyone were pondering what Ed Wood would be like today if he were armed with foreign financing and computer effects, look no further than Uwe Boll.
So this is interesting. Alternate versions on Internet Movie Database. The German DVD release of the director's cut has additional gore scenes. Miles now brutally killed on screen instead of off, as in the theatrical version, and a new martial arts fight scene. The love scene between Christian Slater and Tara Reid has been removed. But it's interesting. I don't remember that in the movie. I wonder if they're showing like a German version on Tubi because I don't remember a love scene between the both of them at all. Did I repress it? Did I space it out or what? It's so weird. David, do you remember a love scene?
No, like I said, I started watching this and I got up and packed for this work trip and cleaned the house, and occasionally walked in and was like, yeah, I'm not even going to rewind this to figure out why the hell what's happening is happening.
So the funniest part is that there's like 90 seconds of exposition crawl at the beginning of the movie, and it makes no goddamn sense. But it's like a long crawl of what's going on, and about the Abkhani and how they were an advanced civilization, even though they're Native Americans 10,000 years before America. They were they were experimenting with these, the dark world and the light world, and the dark world is seeping into the light world. And then, some dude was doing unnecessary medical procedures with orphans and splicing them together with these people, with these orphans. And I said 22 years ago at Our Lady of Unethical Medical Practices Orphanage. It's so dumb. And you see, like, the kids, the nun says all the kids have left. The 22 kids have left the orphanage as Professor Hudgens comes to, activate him or something like that. And you see Christian Slater's character as a young kid, and he's sitting in like an electrical box or whatever.
And it's sparking like crazy.
I know.
Maybe that's what happened to his hair.
Yeah, he was hanging on to that hairline in this movie.
Look, and all I could think of when I saw him from the side is there is no way that at this point in his life any of that shit's real.
Yeah. David?
Eric, so a little bit of trivia about the 90 seconds worth of opening credits. Did you know why they did that?
Yes, because people couldn't understand what the hell was going on in a test screening.
At the test screenings, they were like, we don't know what was this about. And so they thought if they just scrolled for 90 seconds, that could clean up a lot of that.
The best part of this for me is whoever edited Christian Slater kicking that dude.
Doing the guile kick?
The dude that looked like Walter White?
Yeah, that editing, that was the best part of the whole movie. Honestly, how they edited that. And then obviously, like when they're all like fighting at the end of the movie, there's like the two dudes that can actually move halfway decent. I'm like, okay, that was one of the guys who did that, obviously. But putting that in, watching him run around in that tank top and that stupid ass fucking overcoat.
Mm-hmm.
That was the thing back in the day.
I put grizzled tank top enthusiast Edward Garnby as a character. Well, and the funny thing is the movie starts out with like this long action sequence where, Christian Slater's walking around. He's got his black tank top on and his duster jacket. And he has this artifact, a Connie artifact. And this one guy, like you said, he looks like Walter White, who is relentless chasing him. And the guy gets shot a bunch of times, and he's doing all these Christian Slater's doing this martial arts, and it had some of the worst wire work I've ever seen, where the guy who's chasing him jumps in the air and he looks like he's jumping something off, but you can see his clothes, like his clothes are held, the wires are holding his clothes up. It was really, really bad. It cracked me up. This movie is so unintentionally funny in places, and I think that's probably why I enjoyed it, because there's shit that goes on where we talked about it already, where Christian Slater is on the ground, and if you play Street Fighter 2, Guile does this flip kick off the ground, and that's what Christian Slater's character does, the Guile kick, and it looks hilarious.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good.
Terrible wire work. The guy gets impaled on a stake and apparently cuts the parasite that's in him in half and kills him, which you don't know that yet because they haven't explained that part. But he gets impaled and you're wondering why. And
I had high hopes after that shitty fight scene.
Yeah, I thought there would be more of it.
I had such high hopes. I'm like, just give me a movie full of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't care about plot. Just like randomly, some guy just like leaps off of a building, and he, and just Christian Slater with like a weird catchy line. Like,
it reminded me of that movie, The Hidden
Face, and then something, and then just start the whole fight. It would be great.
It reminded me a little bit of that movie, The Hidden, which is an underseen, awesome action sci-fi movie from the early 80s or the mid 80s. And it has Kyle MacLachlan, and there's aliens in that transfer themselves from mouth to mouth, where the alien will fall out of their mouth and go into the next person, and it amps up their adrenaline, so they're able to do all this kind of stuff like that. It is a really good, fun movie. I remember seeing it on cable a bunch of times as a kid and loving it. It's super funny.
It's really full of actors that you recognize but have no idea what their names are.
Like, what the hell's that name? Is Michael Onkeen or something like that? Or I can't remember the name.
But this movie was full of actors that I recognized but didn't know their names.
Yeah,
like the little tactical computer people that that they're up to some shit because they got their hats on backwards.
Yeah,
and she never closed her,
and they have their hats on backwards,
and she never closed her mouth either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're always the guy in the chair hacking in for the boss. There's electrical magnetic pulses coming around. Yeah, it's dumb. And
it's off the charts, boss. Can we just talk about the outfits since 713 is now getting ready to show up? Can we talk about like the paintball-esque gear those guys were running around in?
They were literally wearing paintball tactical gear. It was applied by a paintball company.
It was so bad. But at no point did our hero protagonist, when 713 shows up and then they start bitching and griping at everybody, did he ever just stop to look at him and go, God, I was here first.
Yeah, I used to be your boss's boss.
What are you doing here? I don't know. I was here fighting that fucking monster for like 20 minutes before you got here. What are you doing here now? What took you so long?
I just love when Tara Reid's character is at Christian Slater's character is flat. He's got the cool big studio apartment, and he's got the little, his just the screen where his bed is and stuff like that, where the monsters, who are total alien ripoffs in the way they move and stuff like that, they don't look like, they're like across from that monster in Relic. Remember that movie with Tom Sizemore?
Yeah.
And Aliens. And the way they look is so bad. It's like they're just as bad as PS2 graphics or PS1 graphics. They look like shit. And the funny thing is that the monsters are chasing Christian Slater and Tara Reid all around his apartment, and the 713 troops fall from the ceiling and break all the windows and do all this kind of stuff like that. And they're running around. And what does Stephen Dorff's character do in his They just walk through the front door. The front door, like, couldn't your other guys walk through the front door too? What's going on here? Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do when it rains, fuckers?
Yeah, and the guy who's like the buddy, the insider info guy in 713 is still friends with Edward, and he looks like James Cromwell, but the Temu version of James Cromwell. Yeah, exactly. Remember when Wish used to be the off-brand? He's the Wish version of this, but now it's Temu.
Temu. Yeah, it's taken over.
Mm-hmm. Temu has taken over. Still have never ordered anything from them. I don't think I ever would, but it's yeah. It's so dumb. So Edward, Christian Slater's character, is part of the group of the 22 people that were being experimented on by Professor Hudgens. And apparently when he was sitting in the little electrical room at the beginning, it electrocuted his creature inside him and killed it. He still has it inside him. And
just dead, rotting, hasn't caused any issues whatsoever.
Just dead creature inside him that he can't get out.
Just causes him bad breath.
Oh, but what about the editing during the attack on Edward's his apartment? The editing was so bad, and I can't tell if they're trying to be like a video game or they just had no money, because it would just be pitch black, and you would see people shooting in one direction, and they would cut to other people shooting in another direction, and it was just pitch black. You couldn't see anything. It was just so weird.
And the cheap special effects of the bullets were in a perfect triangle the way they were traveling.
Yeah.
On that above shot, you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a great movie.
The new metal soundtrack is hilarious. It's just very, the name of the group is funny. They were nominated for worst song in the I gotta find it now. Hold on.
We got Nightwish, Death Stars, In Flames,
you beat me to it, Neil.
Soilwork.
Nightwish is the name of the group. What was the name of the song?
Nightwish? Wish I Had an Angel.
Yeah, Wish I Had an Angel. Very, very funny. And it fits the movie. So
Was actually Meshuggah in that?
Oh, really? That's funny.
Well, I'm just going through the Alone in the Dark soundtrack. I don't remember Meshuggah at all. I recognize some of these bands, like All Shall Perish, Meshuggah, God Forbid, Napalm Death, Troops of Doom. Hell yes. Arch Enemy.
Napalm Death I'm familiar with, yeah.
Yeah. And apparently Anthrax, What Doesn't Die, Hypocrisy, and Death Angel. There's actually some really good bands on this.
I guess, and I was reading a thing people were talking about on Reddit under Bad Movies, under Reddit, that Uwe Boll really likes metal music and has a lot of them in his soundtracks to his other movies. So
yeah, but it's shit metal.
This coming from the guy that liked Long Legs.
Long Legs wasn't that bad, Neil. Just watch it.
Dude, you grew up in Farmington. You're probably still metal. Okay, Scorpions. No, not so.
No, unfortunately when I was when they were playing all the metal music, we had to deal with fucking Limp Bizkit and Kid Rock all the time.
Ugh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you grew up in a bad time. When
yeah.
Nookie and Linkin Park and all that kind of stuff was raging.
Yeah. It's literally what I was stuck with, man.
Well, but in the end, it doesn't really matter. That's what it did. Thank you.
I did write that.
When you listen to that music, does it wake you up inside?
That song, and you're like how sometimes randomly stuff will come up on YouTube. That song has been played 2 billion times on YouTube.
Which one?
Bring Me to Life by Evanescence.
The singer for Evanescence did an acoustic set with Korn, and it was really good. But they were singing Korn songs, and it was a really good juxtaposition between her voice and Jonathan's voice. But I could talk about heavy metal all the time, even though I don't believe either of those bands are heavy metal.
No. Yeah. But anyway, those 22 people from the orphanage are kung fu zombies. Basically, they're fighting fighting our other people. This movie has really no plot because the climax of the movie is where they go to try to find out where Professor Hudgens did all these experiments. And it's a complete Aliens ripoff because 713 has all their troops holding the perimeter, and while they're going inside to explore, and they got the sentry guns and all that kind of stuff, and they're trying to get the generator online, the Jenny online, and just all these monsters are around and killing them all. And there was one part that I thought was funny. The sandworm part was kind of hilarious.
What was that? Just out of nowhere. But then with like they're dropping guys right and left. That guy drops through the big hole onto the sticks, and they're like, we got to go down there and recover him. But do we though?
Well, the guy's on the ground like, I think I found something. He's like, ah! He falls. Yeah, it's just dumb. And Hudgens wants him to open the door to, I don't know if it's like an alternate dimension or it's just a big cavern full of those monsters. And he's holding him at gunpoint. And Stephen Dorff pulls out a knife and just hits him right in the chest. Just out of nowhere.
Dude, that is 80s ninja movie quality throwing right there. Because that shit, it looked like it went through his sternum, which is a tough chunk of bone.
Mm-hmm.
So his wiry little arms provided a whole lot more snap. Maybe he had that Tommy John surgery and just whipped that thing right in. That was pretty badass.
90 miles an hour. Yeah. So they're fighting all the monsters. Stephen Dorff's character tries to sacrifice himself by throwing the explosives into the cavern to cause it to cave in. And the timers look like kitchen timers. Did you notice
exactly,
that? Yes. the timers for the explosives, it looks like somebody spray painted like your kitchen egg timer silver, and there was a countdown on it and stuff. Not really, good production design. It amazes me that the movie cost $20 million and it looked the way it did.
I think it was probably all computer processing that they were paying for.
Yeah.
Well, who keeps giving this asshole that much money to make movies? Because we were looking at his thing before. I've never seen a guy with, I think he's got 36 movies to his credit, and they're all between 2.3 stars to 3.7 or some shit like that. Like, he's just shitty, but he's doing what he loves, I guess. Somehow.
Yeah, and apparently he's a pretty confrontational guy because he's used, he wanted to like box one of his critics. He wanted to fight people who didn't like him and all this kind of stuff. He's a pretty volatile dude. The movie ends where they blow up the cavern and apparently everything's okay. But at the end, they have the Evil Dead kind of monster cam coming at him, and then him and Christian Slater and Tara Reid turn around and they're like, "Dah!" And then they go into a new metal song, and then the movie's over. Yeah, that is it.
It makes no sense, man.
It doesn't, but it's still not the worst movie and one of the worst movies ever made.
I think what I read was it said it was one of the worst movies made that year. So right there, that's Uwe Boll right there.
Mm-hmm.
I just slapped him right in there at the end.
So if you look at the Rotten Tomatoes list of worst movies of all time, which I included a link for,
where's Battlestar Galactica on this list? Like, I want to know.
Battlestar Galactica?
That's not a movie.
Or no, the John Travolta. I thought that was
Battlefield Earth. Earth, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
So, according to Rotten Tomatoes, the number one worst movie of all time is Ballistic: X versus Sever, which is a movie with Antonio Banderas and Lucy Liu that came out in 2002. A startlingly inept film, offers overblown wall-to-wall action without a hint of wit, coherent style, or originality. The One Missed Call from 2008 also has a 0%. There's a Nicolas Cage movie of Left Behind. Look at the poster. It looks like they photoshopped Nicolas Cage's head on, on the torso.
Left Behind is a Christian propaganda film.
Yeah, like where everybody gets raptured up. There was a series of them with Kirk Cameron that came out in the late 90s, early 2000s. But this one they remade in 2014.
That was when Kirk Cameron was hanging out with the banana guy, the guy that was like the Lord made the banana perfect to fit your hand and there's no seeds in it. And then people were like, yeah, no, people engineered that, bro.
Yeah, if you look at a real wild banana, it's got gigantic seeds all over it. Stupid. Critical consensus on Left Behind. Yea, verily, like unto a plague of locusts, Left Behind hath begat a further scourge of devastation upon Nicolas Cage's once proud filmography. 1,000 Words, I've never seen. Gotti. Pinocchio with Roberto Benigni, which I hear is just fucking awful. Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2.
Dude, I've actually
Jaws: The
seen a
Revenge.
lot of these movies. Like number 37, Simon Says with Dennis Rodman.
I remember that one. I have not seen that one.
Well, dude,
There's a Cabin Fever remake.
yeah, I'm looking at that. Cabin Fever, that wasn't a horrible movie. What the hell is that?
That was a remake,
Zero?
not the original, though.
No, I know, but 0%?
I remember Bolero with the Bo Derek, just because she was naked a lot in that movie. It was one of those things on late night HBO.
Oh, Battlefield Earth. It's number 55. It's here.
Number 55. Okay. So.
Really? There's 54 movies worse than Battlefield Earth?
No, that's the 55th because it starts at the worst and then goes to like I guess is the 100. They consider that one the worst. Oh well, yeah, that's not that. It's the last Airbender film is 100, which was pretty horrible.
So Alone in the Dark is number 38. It is. I don't think it is terrible. There's other movies that I think are like worse that maybe have better critical scores. Like I don't know. Like I couldn't sit through like a Look Who's Talking movie or Stop for or My Mom Will Shoot or Rhinestone or The Toy or any of those type of movies. I just like even the original Police Academy or Porky's are terrible movies. You know, I would consider them worse than this.
Blood Rain is at 94 since we're talking about Uwe Boll.
Yeah. Meet the Spartans, Baby Geniuses. There's this one movie called Nina, which came out in 2016, and it is Zoe Saldana pretending to be or playing Nina Simone. If you have seen Nina Simone, she does not look like Zoe Saldana. That is terrible casting for Nina Simone. Battlefield Earth, number 55. Rollerball.
Toy is 77.
Oh, okay. Jack and Jill. David, you told me about Rollerball, like you were working at the theater or something, and people are complaining of it because of they couldn't understand what was going on, or you guys had to put up like a sign saying, "Yes, this is the way the movie is supposed to look," or something.
Which one's Rollerball? What number?
Rollerball has Chris Klein, LL Cool J, Rebecca Romaine, and it's based on that movie from the 70s where it's like a dystopia and they do like a roller skating, roller blading, like death match.
Yeah, we literally had to put up a thing that's like, no, this is how it is. I remember that was one of the funniest, and I don't know if that was the movie or not, but I remember I had to give a lady wanted a refund at the movie theater, asking me why I would make and show such a shitty movie. And, you know, I'm probably it's a Sunday afternoon, I'm probably just baked. You know, smoked a bowl before work, and then I got some lady telling me, like, you directed a shitty movie. And I'm like, oh, what? I didn't direct anything, but I gave her a refund after, you know, she watched the whole thing and then came out and was like, I can't believe you would make that. I'm like, I didn't. I just get paid $6 an hour, lady. Leave me alone.
Well, I feel like you shouldn't get your money back if you sit through the entire movie.
Yeah.
Like if you leave like 20 minutes in and you think it's shit, you should probably get a refund. But if you sit for the whole thing, it's like eating a whole plate of food and then telling the chef to make something different because you didn't like it. You know? Vulture ranked 51 video games from 51 ranked video games. Postal, another Uwe Boll movie, is number 51. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, which I hear is freaking awful. Assassin's Creed. Alone in the Dark is number 48. Need for Speed. I didn't really mind the Warcraft movie. Did you see Warcraft? The movie.
I was a little disappointed because I thought, like, okay, cool, there's going to be a second one. There was never a second one.
I thought it looked pretty good. It looked, you know, if of course, I'm a Warcraft nerd, and I will admit right now that I'm playing World of Warcraft again because I've been off it for like 3 years, but I'm like can't find any video games to play, so I started playing it again. So I fell off the wagon, and I'm playing World of Warcraft. Yeah. Mortal Kombat Annihilation, Borderlands, Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li, Hitman, Uncharted with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, Silent Hill. What do they consider the best video game adaptation of all time? Werewolves Within, which I have not seen. I didn't even know that was a video game.
Yeah, Werewolves Within. I've talked to you about it.
Yeah, I remember you saying you liked it.
It's hilarious, man. It is a really, really funny movie.
Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, 2021. And then Mortal Kombat is number 3. That's a very low bar.
You need to see Werewolves Within.
I will. Now that it's considered the number one
you'll enjoy it.
video game movie. So, yeah. But yeah, that is Alone in the Dark. It was shitty, but not that shitty.
It was shitty.
It was shitty. I'll say that it was shitty, but it wasn't like the worst movie I've ever seen. There's other movies like that have like pissed me off after watching it. You're like, God damn, why did I watch this? This piece of shit. But this one I was like, meh. I was entertained for an hour and a half.
I hate my life.
It made me laugh. It was okay, you know.
It's the problem with watching a movie like that, because sometimes it makes it feel just like long legs.
Mm-hmm. See, now I'm gonna have to watch it.
Hate you, Neil.
It's when you watch that, it'll make you just want to go read a book, because you want to have to prove to yourself that you can read and have a rational discussion.
Scrolling back to the Tara Reid picture.
That movie is the equivalent of getting out of the swimming pool, and as you're changing, somebody walking in and seeing you naked, and you're looking down, you're like, no, it's been cold. It's not like this. That's
this
the
movie
equivalent
or Long
of this
Legs?
movie. Long Legs.
Mm. All right. Well, next week we're watching Mac and Me. Mac and Me.
When my wife asked me, how'd the podcast go? The boys loved it, hon. Boys loved it.
It is on Tubi and Pluto TV and Netflix. So,
yeah, this is one I'm not getting. My wife, this is like a childhood film for her. So,
yeah, it has its fans.
So you're gonna have to be on your best behavior next week, Neil.
Oh, she knows how I feel about the movie.
Yeah.
But she keeps insisting, especially when we're watching like the Italian stuff. She's like, "Why don't you guys ever watch good movies?" Because your good movies and Eric's movies, they're nowhere near each other. They're not even close to being on the same planet.
Well, thanks everybody. Join us next week for Mac and Me. Watch Alone in the Dark and let us know if you think it's the worst movie you've ever seen. Hit us up on rvspodcast222@gmail.com. We're on Instagram. We're on Threads. We're on Facebook. And hopefully you don't have too much election anxiety like I do right now. And we'll see how things go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have election anxiety. I have for what happens after the election anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because I'm afraid, depending on who gets elected, that somebody might think that Long Legs needs a sequel. That would be some depressing shit.
That's how we're ending the show. Just that.
All right. Well, the line has been drawn.
Yeah.
Pro long legs, anti long legs. It's like the red state, blue state discussion. Long legs versus anti long legs.
I was here. I've heard a lot of people like Long Legs. Some people, but I've heard people, some of the best people, and I know them, don't like the long legs. They prefer normal size legs, American legs, not the kind of legs that are coming in, taking over from the regular size pants that we have, but they're too long. All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good week, everybody.
Goodbye,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Retro Video Store Podcast.